Now see guys, before I show you some new crazy traps that you can try against the Scandinavian defense, why should you subscribe to our channel? Firstly, this is where you learn some new traps and tricks that you rarely see on YouTube and other uncommon developments in various openings. So this is where I try to turn boring openings into interesting ones. Right, back to the Scandinavian defense. So you're playing white and you start with pawn to e4, then all of a sudden black responds with pawn to d5. I hate this. Nobody likes the Scandinavian defense because black's plan is very simple, straightforward, and well known to all the Scandinavian players. So I want to show you a surprise weapon and one setup that you can play in the main line in case black doesn't fall for any of the traps that I'm about to show you guys. The best move here is e takes d5, no question about it. After which black takes back on d5 with the queen. Now, the top played move in this position is knight to c3, attacking this queen, but that's exactly what black is expecting to see and they are well prepared. So instead of knight c3, you can simply go knight to f3. Guys, as you can see in the latest database, most black players are just messing around. They play queen d8, sometimes they play bishop g4, which is the main area of my meat in this study. Sometimes they play queen a5 and sometimes queen e6. We're going to see all of these moves. Anyway, the top played move in the masters database is bishop g4, as you can see with your own eyeballs. So this is what black is going to play most of the times, simply pinning your knight to the queen. And now this is where you play knight c3, attacking this queen. Here queen e6 check is the main line and the top engine move, but I'm going to show you one setup that you can play after queen e6 check without exchanging your queens early. But let's see what else black can do here. Queen c6 is out of the equation because of bishop b5 and the queen is gone. So let's look at something else. If queen a5 is played, the top played move, now it's time for you to start harassing this bishop because your long-term plan is always to castle long. So you begin with the move pawn to h3 and after they go bishop h5, you go pawn to g4. This is all that you're supposed to be doing. If you don't want to go the standard way that we just looked at, where you play a3, then queen e2, castle long or short, you can also try this Leonard Gambit move, pawn to b4, attacking this queen. Because the main idea is after queen takes, you now go rook b1 and take the b7 pawn given a chance. But if you want to surprise your opponent even further, after playing pawn to b4, then queen takes b4, instead of going rook b1, I propose you play this sneaky move, knight b5. This will happen like magic, you guys. You are simply attacking this pawn and you want to win that rook again. So they most of the times go queen a5, protecting that pawn and just removing the queen away from danger. And now this is when you go bishop c4. This is a very sneaky move, you guys. The idea is that if black plays a normal looking move like knight to f6 or pawn to c6, which is the top played move, they are going to lose due to bishop takes f7 check. That's a sacrifice and a free pawn. If black takes, you now go knight e5 check. If king f6, we have knight takes with check. Again, if king e6, we have queen takes g4 with check, and this may lead to something like a mate in 7 or 6, beginning with the move bishop b2 check. Say king d5 and then you go check. The only move is king c5 here, after which you go queen d4 check, and from here you can even finish it up. Bishop d4 check. Zung zwang. Anyway, so after pawn to c6, again, you simply sacrifice your bishop. And if king takes, you go knight e5 check instead of king e6. If black plays king e8, you simply grab that bishop. The story is well known. Queen takes b5 runs into mate in 1, so that's impossible. If pawn takes, again you have queen c8 check. And after queen d8, you can just start getting all the pawns in this world. Besides, you also have queen takes check and then win the free rook on h8 if you are not patient. But queen takes b7 is the most standard move. After knight d7, you simply take that free knight. Because black can't take, you have this. Right, but let's try to be more aggressive, guys. After knight c3, instead of queen c6 or queen a5, what if black plays the second most common move, bishop takes f3 here, intending to take your queen? Well, after this, you can just take black's queen on d5. The thing is, from here you're going to be up a piece with very good compensation. You go knight takes c7, check. If black goes king d8 instead of king d7, you can simply take that rook on a8. This is what we call a positional sacrifice, in case you're still wondering what is happening. So black is going to take your c2 pawn. So word of advice in this line, once you manage taking black's rook on a8, just think of playing b4 and then put your dark squared bishop on e5. Done. And so the move to remember here is pawn to b4 immediately. Why pawn to b4? Watch. Because after black plays the top played move pawn to e5, paving way for their dark squared bishop, since they know that our knight is still trapped. Well, here you can simply go bishop b2 and game over. So the only moves to remember are pawn to b4 and bishop b2. We have a positional sacrifice on a8 and a clearance sacrifice on b4. Those are principles, guys. If you know, you know. The thing is, if black takes, at worst, we can simply take back on e5 and then rescue our knight peacefully. If knight d7 is played attacking our bishop, the g7 pawn is dead. Again, back on move 4, after you play knight c3 and black takes, then you take, pap, pap, king d8, knight takes, and bishop takes. I said the key move right in this position is to go pawn to b4, inviting pawn to e5, so that, I mean, when you know, you know. So once again, just go pawn to b4. Let me show you another way you can try and rescue your knight or create counterplay to gain activity. Say this time white plays bishop e4, intending to capture our knight. Well, once again, you can just go bishop b2 as if you don't know what is happening. And after pawn to b6, like what they do, well, you simply go bishop e5. So now we know another reason why we play pawn to b4 is for us to go bishop e5 in order to threaten this knight. And in case of knight c6 attacking our bishop, we can simply go bishop c7 check first and say after king c7, because they want to capture our knight like this. Well, first of all, we have bishop s6 check, but pawn to f3 here looks more logical. The bishop has to retreat, and then this is when we go bishop s6 check. That's if we want, and then retreat our dark squared bishop. But the way I like playing this position is to go rook c1 first, so that after king b7 is played, I can simply go pawn to b5. That's all. So that if king takes, I can take that knight and go bishop s6 and checkmate. If knight b4 is played, I can simply retreat my bishop back and ready to rescue my knight. So in all of these variations, your knight will always be safe. By the way, this doesn't work in case that's what you've been looking at because of this mate in 2. I mean, like really, you guys were struggling to find this mate? Anyway. So word of advice in this line, once you manage taking black's rook on a8, just think of playing b4 and then put your dark squared bishop on e5. But what if black tries to stop you with pawn to f6? Say after b4 and then they go pawn to e5, and after playing bishop b2, first of all they play pawn to f6 so that you don't take, right? To attack this knight and rescue your knight. Well, now you have time to go pawn to b4. That's it. And the idea is to go b6 so that you can play knight c7 next. For example, in case of bishop e4, you can even go pawn to b6 here, or rook c1 first if you want. If ab happens, now we have knight takes b6. So instead of bishop e4, say black plays pawn to b6 first with the same intention of capturing our knight. Well, surprisingly, here we can go rook c1 first and then rescue our knight this way, or play knight c7 directly, because if black takes, we are going to pin black's bishop on c2. So all this was to show you how impossible it is for black to win our knight on a8. The key move to always remember is pawn to b4. That's it. Right, but let's try to be more aggressive, guys. After knight c3, bishop takes f3, knight takes d5, bishop takes, and knight takes c7 check. Instead of king d8, what if black plays king d7, the top played move? You grab that free rook. So after bishop takes c2, the way you continue playing this is by going bishop b5 check. First of all, you want that king to go back, right? If black plays knight c6, you just go pawn to d3. If they play s6, you can simply take that knight with check. And if king takes, you can simply save your a knight with bishop e3, and you will forever be up an exchange. So this is the simplest way to play this line. Yes, they can take on d3, but here you even have a better move than knight b6. You have rook c1 check, an in-between move, and worse off, if black plays king d6, you'll even win some more material, pinning that bishop to the king. So far we have looked at the bishop takes f3 line and the queen a5 line. These are the top played moves, by the way. What if black plays queen d8? Well, I call that a zero move in the Scandinavian defense. First of all, our standard plan is to start chasing that light squared bishop, then develop our light squared bishop d3, bishop e3, develop our queen, and castle long. We always want to be castling long in most cases, but hey, there is this sneaky move again, bishop c4. With bishop c4, we are waiting for black to blunder with this normal looking move knight to f6, so that instead of taking right away, we can simply go knight e5, sacrificing our queen. And surprisingly enough, the top played move in the Lichess database is bishop takes d1. I don't know what's wrong with people, but this leads to a mate in one. Anyway, but again, in case black doesn't play knight to f6 and say they go pawn to e6, well, now this is when we can go back to our first main plan of chasing this light squared bishop, beginning with h3, and after bishop h5, we go g4. That's the idea. And after bishop g6, believe it or not, the plan is to go queen e2. But why queen e2 here? Why leaving our pawn for free? Well, the thing is, black's bishop is going to be trapped. There's no way out. So that c2 pawn is not for free in most cases. And I guess you already know the plan: pawn to d3, bishop f4, or bishop e3, and then castle long. Then you start playing chess. So now you know that once the queen goes back, you can just go bishop and prepare to go knight e5 in case of knight to f6 or pawn to c6. After knight c3, back on move 4, queen h5 check is something that I don't even consider, because this is just too simple. We can just go bishop e2, and after something like knight to f6 here, we can even castle short. This is too simplified, and start playing on the center of the board as highlighted. And now let's look at the last line where black plays the top engine move queen e6 check, or the main line. And this is the reason why most grandmasters don't play this variation of the Scandinavian, because if you're not careful as white, the game from here will be very drawish. For example, if you just go queen e2 and then you trade queens and then you start playing chess, this would just be a boring game, very drawish. So to make it more interesting, instead of going queen e2, I want to show you a simple setup that you can follow from here, and you will always be doing the same thing over and over regardless of what black does. So here's your plan. You will cover this check with your queen's knight on e2. That's one. Then you will play pawn to d4 and then go pawn to c3 to solidify your pawns on the queen side, and then your dark squared bishop will be developed on e3. Given a chance, you will develop your queen on d2 and castle long in the near future. On the king side, the story is well known: h3, pawn to g4, and bishop g2. White would take your king's knight on f3 with their bishop. Now let's put this into practice. So you first of all go knight e2. If bishop takes, that's okay. You simply take back with your g pawn, because you're going to protect that pawn with your bishop. So they'll play knight c6, all top played moves by the way, and this is when you go pawn to d4. After they castle long, now attacking your d4 pawn for real, because your knight is pinned. This is when you can play bishop e3, or switch your move order, starting with pawn to c3 first, solidifying your pawns just like I mentioned. And say after black plays queen f6, trying to free up their bishop and also attacking this pawn, well, this is when you can go bishop g2 if you want. And instead of bishop g2, there's even a sneaky move here beginning with queen a4. The idea is that if white takes, you first of all go rook g1, and that was just a clearance sacrifice by the way, in order to be ahead in development, so that after knight to f6, this is when you go bishop g2 now, and then mess up black's pawn structure on the queen side as well, like this. I don't know how many of you guys can fail to play this position. This is not good due to pawn takes. And if queen takes, now you have queen a6 check first. You have all the time in this world to attack black's king. This doesn't look logical due to bishop f4, and then on the next move you castle long with check. So they will most of the times play king b8 and then you go bishop e3. This is where your bishop belongs. And I don't even believe in this trade because you can just go queen b5 check and win that bishop for free. This runs into queen takes e5. Even after knight to f6, I mean, you can just continue with the same setup. Bishop e3, queen a4 if you want, or queen d2, then castle long. Or first you can even test black's patience by going h4 here. Why h4? Because if they play something like h6, the top played move, now their queen is dead. So this is just a sneaky way to win black's queen. After pawn to h4, if they don't play h6 and let's say they go queen d5 attacking your pawn, this time you even have knight to f4 protecting your pawn and also attacking the queen. So the queen has to go back. And then you go bishop e3, same setup you guys. Queen a4 is coming, given a chance. Bishop g2 or check, then castle long. Here if pawn to e5 is played, by the way, if you want you can simplify and take back with your rook. Alright guys, so I hope this helps. If there will be any improvements in the near future, I will upload all of them on this same channel, which is why you have all the reasons to subscribe to this channel once again. And be sure to hit the like button and share this video if you love Casper. Right, follow me on Patreon if you want to level up and take your chess seriously. And remember to eat before you sleep. Until next time, bye bye.